Well, hello.
Thank you for flying in Spirit Airlines. Welcome to Orlando.
Well, I'd just like to introduce a few remarks, just talking about the kind of the current state of Asian studies, which I think is worth looking at, and just drawing attention to the really strange features that go into running any large cultural institution, universities, museums, etc. The trustees are a critical element. Trustees, community oversight, and a lot of it's really bad. A lot of it just really sucks. Don't do a good job, engage in manipulation. I'm sure some of them have weird affiliations with 50s era paramilitary units. I'm sure a lot of them have, of course, present-day affiliations with the Ministry for State Security, People's Republic of China. They're very annoying people to deal with. You probably know, I've had very strange personal experiences with one of those people. I just don't like to be involved in that kind of thing. And it's harmful. It's pernicious. I'm not sure if you can actually find a book on Chinese history that really goes into, that's written professionally and accurately. Entire presentations have weird points inserted into them that are basically fallacious, as far as I know. Tons of strange stuff. Tons of weird stuff. Like, it gets weird. And particularly weird, too. Attempts to portray China like they didn't have a functioning justice system with functioning prison guards, which they actually did. I understand they were requisitioned from soldiers units typically, but from my understanding, there's a functioning system of guarding and controlling people sentenced to Xing or Fatian. I'm not familiar with the Qing dynasty history, though. That's a very weak point in me. I do not know Chinese of any sort. The Chinese language. But you start to notice little points here, and it's just, that's a little bit weird. And this kind of ties into the whole issue of the favorite country problem. You might even say it's an aspect of Orientalism, probably. I mean, there's probably an argument here about that. There's a lot of tendency towards weird, idealized representations of both Japan and China. And I feel like historically there was more of a focus on the favorite country problem in regards to Japan, probably due to Cold War alliances. I feel like that's shifting now towards China. People with China connections are shifting a little bit. It's possible we're going to get some more decent, better, honest Japanese history publications coming out in the coming decades, just as the favorite country problem becomes a weaker, less important issue for Japan. It's possible Chinese history publications become increasingly worse as the norm in Chinese studies becomes oriented towards China as being the favorite country. A country that only gets really weird, glossed over parts of their history portrayed, and the negative parts never get portrayed. This can even affect Confucianism. There's a lot of discussions on how badly corrupted Confucian texts have been over the past 100 years of publishing. I'm not in a position here to question that. I cannot read any of them in the original language, but I understand there's some complexities there about Mencius himself versus Confucius and how they interacted, and of course how they were translated into English, which comes in even another layer. Reading Mencius, and especially bringing their own American political preconceptions, you can wind up with a very different attitude than possibly he was going for. Years since I've read him. Mencius, it's way back there when I last read Mencius, and that's my only exposure to really Confucian thought. So entire discussion. Yes, the favorite country problem. That's, I'd say, a central problem in Asian studies and Aryan studies. I have really no idea. I'm just going to have, as I said before, I think I've come to the conclusion I'm very much a monomaniac now. Every single American social problem, an academic, an intellectual, and cultural problem can be solved with more counterintelligence, more arrests, more counterintelligence prosecutions, and of course more criminal justice prosecutions. Just keep doing that. I mean, honestly, Charlie Kirk's life could have possibly been spared. Not that I never really was personally a fan of the guy anyway, if he had been arrested and prosecuted for treason. But that didn't happen. And we will never know if he was a foreign agent or not at this point. He's dead. But obviously the person that killed him will probably get prosecuted. That's the kind of the direction I think we should kind of need to be aiming in. A lot more people need to be prosecuted and killed through the death penalty rather than through murder. I really am not a big fan of murder. I like the death penalty in its proper place, not for crimes other than murder and treason or sedition, but definitely all the time for crimes like murder, treason, and sedition. That's my point of view. Kind of a little scattered here in this video. Sorry about that, but I think a lot of problems in academia, I think, can be solved the same way. So I think it does tie in very strongly. Just prosecute people for treason and sedition all of the time. I think at least some of these charges will stick, especially in the cases of publications like universities. Who's influencing Stanford University Press? Who's influencing these various presses? Why do the professors have physical features in their eyes which I don't have? People should be normal and healthy. And there should be normal, healthy, loyal Americans who love Asian studies and are committed to truthful, high-quality academic publications. People aren't interested in that? You should probably think about the Trump-Russia affair, Russia Gate, as it's called. You should probably think a little bit more about, a lot of people around us, especially people in various studies, government agencies, certain elements of the press are not loyal. They're people who cause problems, people who possibly incite public acts of murder, and they're not really trustworthy or good people. And they lead to academic publications that will eventually have to be discarded as we determine that they were in fact based on the favorite country issue. Well, thanks. Hopefully this is a useful and way of structuring our thoughts on Orientalism and the favorite country problem, as I might call it.